Let's talk about the inside information I have on the ATF visits to people who purchased rare breed triggers. What is up, Wolverines? And yes, I am wearing a Root shirt, and yes, I am still very sick, but I'm doing this just for you guys. My name is John Crump. I'm an investigative journalist, and I look into everything 2A related, including the ATF. And if you can make me feel better by commenting, and subscribing, remember I'm doing this while I have COVID, so this will actually help me feel better. And I'm struggling, but I'm making it through. All right, today we are brought to you by JSD Supply. JSD Supply is your one-stop shop for everything that you need to complete your build, from triggers to slides to barrels. Everything that you need is at JSD Supply, and for a limited time you can use code CRUMP and get $10 off your order above $100 and get free shipping. Thank you, JSD Supply, for the support. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the rare breed trigger investigation that I have been doing. So, the ATF has been showing up at people's houses that have rare breed triggers. There was a few questions. How was the ATF getting the information that these people own the triggers? Where do these people buy the triggers, and everything else like that. So I'm going to go over what I know from my internal sources. Okay, so the ATF has been showing up at people's houses. It's not everyone that bought a trigger. It's people that bought a trigger off Gunbroker. I know there's a few people out there that have said that they bought triggers from Rare Breed and got their triggers taken. But it seems like those people were a little bit forthcoming and maybe hinted that they got a trigger from another place. And the ATF did not have any specific information about that transaction, but besides saying, we know you have another trigger. Right now, we have no evidence that any customers of Rare Breed triggers directly have been visited by the ATF unless they bought a trigger from somewhere else first. So that leads me to believe that Rare Breed did not give over any information, and the ATF is either not acting on information they have or don't have any information on people that bought from Rare Breed. It will be very easy for them to get, though, so there is that. But people that bought off Gunbroker, that is where the ATF is targeting. Right now, people that bought their triggers off Gunbroker are being visited. So that led to a couple questions. How is the ATF getting this information? Did Gunbroker give over the information, or are they doing it another way? So, after much investigation, I found out that they are doing it another way. What they were doing is what's called a controlled buy, where they buy a trigger pretending like they are an average everyday citizen from a seller on Gunbroker. Once they get the trigger, they have that seller's information, and then they can go visit that seller. So no warrant needed to get information from Gunbroker, no court order needed to get information from Gunbroker. They just bought a trigger from a seller on Gunbroker and then got that information. So once they got that information, they showed up at the seller's house or place of business and pressured that seller to give over information. And looking at the list, there's a lot of sellers that are repeated over and over again, and I'm still developing that list. So if you have a visit from the ATF in the future, please send me the name of the seller on Gunbroker that you bought the trigger from. It would really help me. So that's how they're getting the information. Just controlled buys. Seller get pressured to give over information. The seller gives over the information. The ATF shows up at the buyer's house. Okay, now a few people have been threatened by the ATF that the ATF will go get warrants if you don't turn over the triggers, or they threaten to maybe prosecute you if you don't turn over the triggers. I can tell you right now, if you don't turn over the triggers, you will not be served with a warrant like today or tomorrow or whatnot. Maybe in the future, but not right now. And they're not going to arrest you right now. All the ATF is doing is confiscating the triggers. And a lot of ATF agents are giving people a couple days to decide what they want to do. Now, if you don't turn over the triggers, the agents will tell you they're not sure what will happen, or the honest agents will. They will tell you that they're not sure what will happen. What the ATF agents are being told at the field offices is to note the case that the person refused to turn over the trigger. What the ATF will do with that in the future, I am not sure, and the agents aren't sure. So no one is really sure. The people that made the decision, once again, this came from headquarters, or I think that's the first time I said it. But yes, it came from headquarters, Washington, D.C., down to the field offices to go get these triggers. I don't think the people in headquarters actually knows what the next step is going to be. So we'll see what happens in the future. But as of right now, there is no threat of you being arrested or a warrant being served on you. But remember, that can change at any time. My advice to you is to seek legal counsel. Go talk to a lawyer. Give the trigger to your lawyer and have him give that over to the ATF. I talked to a couple lawyers off record about what happens if a person can't afford a lawyer, and their suggestion was to stick it in a bag, beat it with a hammer, and videotape you destroying the trigger. Whether I would do that or not, I don't know. Most lawyers are a pretty cautious bunch, and they're not going to take any risk. Tell you the truth, I would probably hang on to it and ride out the wave of ATF action and see what exactly happens. But that's just me, and I know everyone's situation is a little bit different. So whatever you decide to do, that is for you to decide and no one to judge you on. So whatever you want to do, you should do. Just use your best judgment, and yeah, that's it. All right, so that's all we know right now. I'm sure more will be coming out in the future, but just wanted to put this out there because I think a lot of people are scared that they're going to get arrested, or a warrant's going to be served, or the dog's going to be shot, or the door's going to be kicked down. But I don't see that happening no matter what the ATF says to you. All right, guys, that's it for today. I love you very much. Stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keep in the fight. I am out of here. Wolverine's Oh, I almost forgot. Check me out at John Crump Live. We are trying to get the channel to 4,000, and we are very, very close. So go to John Crump Live on YouTube, ring that bell, subscribe, join us for some fun conversations. All right, we're out. See ya.